as my passion and my obsession, which is the extra virgin olive oil. Been working for many years and with Elisabetta and Gabriella and Sonia, which are producer of the most fabulous and fantastic extra virgin olive oil in market. Is a journey which I want to give the oil as an ingredient itself, and everything it must go around it by the characteristic of every single variety of oil. So I will travel during this year and next year all over Lancashire. I've chosen to travel with a motorbike because just I put together two passions, Italian bike and extra virgin olive oil. So why not to get these together? I must say thank you today we'll go through all the aspects of the extra virgin olive oil, the difficulty to produce it, how hard it is to produce it, working all year round to basically gain just 8%, 10% when you look at of your year working, which is the extra virgin olive oil you produce. And the medical aspect, which James and Tim will give you, and thank you for coming. Thanks so much. And the benefit of the extra virgin olive oil and the positive situation it can create in our body. We have Luigi, which is a journalist and a book writer, which will amplify and his knowledge and about extra virgin olive oil and the world of the condiment extra virgin olive oil, not just in Italy, but worldwide, and going into aspect. We have Elisabetta, which she will give, she's the producer. She knows inside out the variety, from the 800-year-old tree they've got to the newest one. They producing the oil with, probably is the only one in Italy, if not just a few, extracting the oil cold press and cold extraction. So thank you for all the authority that are in here, Italian and British authority. Thank you for all the friends, for all the people, and I'm sure it will be more than an interesting journey. Thanks so much.
Hello, thanks for coming and being present here to this opportunity that Cinzia and Maurizio gave us to present to you our company and our products.
La mia azienda si trova nelle Marche, precisamente a Recanati. Le Marche si trovano al centro dell'Italia.
So our company is located in the central part of Italy, towards the east, towards the Adriatic Sea, near the town of Recanati, in the middle of the region Le Marche.
Abbiamo un'azienda dove produciamo olio da oltre 70 anni. Iniziarono i nostri nonni, poi i nostri genitori, adesso io, Sonia, che vedrete qui in giro, e mia sorella Gabriella.
They are producing oil since 70 years ago. Their grandfather started the company, then the father took it onwards, and then it's their turn. They are three sisters, Gabriella, Elisabetta, and Sonia, that you will see doing service here today.
Sì, abbiamo circa 2000 alberi di olivo, alcuni anche secolari, e all'interno ci sono 20 varietà diverse di olivo.
In their olive grove, there are more than 2,000 trees of olive. They are of 20 different varieties, and this is how the olive grove is constituted and where the olives come from for the olive oil.
Seguiamo tutte le fasi della produzione, dunque seguiamo anche la parte in campo, perché siamo convinti, questo poi ci vedrà anche il dottor Luigi, che l'olio è buono al momento che si produce in campo. All'interno delle olive c'è la gocciolina di olio più perfetta.
So they have the opportunity to follow the whole process from the field to the final point of the production of the olive oil. Because of course the best moment for the olive oil actually is when it's still ready to be extracted from the olive. This is the peak of the life of the olive oil. So if you can take care of the whole process, you can control the final quality of the oil.
Controlliamo tutta la fase della potatura, delle consumazioni, verificare se ci sono parassiti o meno e intervenire solamente necessario per poter arrivare poi a fine settembre o ottobre a raccogliere un'oliva sana.
So they control everything on the field to ensure that production goes well, that the plant is not suffering from external aggressions. They try to intervene the less as possible, but of course we have to save the olives and to obtain a great product.
Abbiamo modo di controllare tutta la filiera, anche perché abbiamo questo frantoio, sempre di famiglia, all'interno dell'azienda, dove appena raccolte 200 kg di olive le portiamo subito a frangere e ottenere così un olio di qualità.
So they, apart from the olive grove, they also own the oil mill. Actually, it's very close to the field, so they have the possibility to harvest the olives and then bring them immediately to the olive mill to be processed, so that they can control the whole process from the field to the final bottle of olive oil.
All'ingresso avete visto un filmato che girava dove si vedono le fasi di lavorazione.
So maybe you had the opportunity downstairs to watch a small movie that shows the production phases from the harvesting to the final production.
Raccogliamo le olive, iniziamo a raccogliere le olive quando hanno una colorazione intorno al 40-50%. Raccogliamo mettendo dei teloni a terra e dopodiché molte a mano per le cime che aiutiamo con degli agevolatori. Raccogliamo queste olive dalle reti, le mettiamo nelle cassettine da 20 kg e le portiamo in conteggio.
So the harvesting process is done manually. There is a lot of manual work. Okay, they start the process. They will be actually starting the process in a few weeks. So they start when the olives are matured in the tree, 40% of them. So when you look at the tree, you see that 40% are become black olives and the others are still green. This is the right time, and this is when the harvesting happens. It's done by hand, by picking the olives by hand, with a net underside the tree to collect them. And for the top of the tree, where you have very old trees that are difficult to reach, they had elongated pneumatic tools that can shake the branches of the tree to help the olives fall out. But this is just the least part of the mechanics that can be applied to this process. So the rest of it is manual. And then you need to collect those nets, empty them into plastic crates, as you've seen below, and bring them to the oil mill to be milled.
Una cosa importante, quando si raccolgono le olive, bisogna stare attenti di non rompere la buccia esterna, perché altrimenti si mettono delle goccioline di acqua di vegetazione e va a fare un inizio delle fermentazioni.
Okay, one advantage of picking the olives manually is that you can be careful not to break the skin of the olive, because otherwise, if the skin breaks, there is some water of the olive that comes out, and this can initiate fermentation processes. It can generate mold. So it's very important to be careful, not to be harsh with the olives, not to step on them. You need to collect them, preserve them, and bring them to the mill immediately for processing.
Una volta arrivato il frantoio, vengono defogliate, lavate e poi passano nella macchina.
Once the olives are inside the mill, they are washed from the dirt. We separate the olives from branches and leaves, and then they are ready to go into the actual mill.
Così formiamo una pasta di olive e questa pasta di olive viene posta sopra dei dischi che si chiamano fiscoli, che vengono messi uno sull'altro come fosse una torta e portata in una pressa dove con un pistone meccanico va a fare la spremuta di olio.
So at that point, the olives go into a granite mill, which grounds the olives into a paste. This paste is placed into, we call them fiscoli. They are polypropylene discs made of a network of threads. okay, of individual threads. So the paste is placed on top of those discs, and those discs are are stacked one on top of the other on a cart that is pushed into a press. Okay, and then with a pneumatic piston, this press goes up, and all the liquid part of the of this paste is separated and can flow down and be collected.
Sì, questo liquido che viene raccolto nelle vasche sotto a queste presse va portato a un separatore che, per differenza di peso specifico tra l'acqua e l'olio, si dividono in due liquidi. Il liquido olio che esce già in quel momento è buono da mangiare, ma è torbido perché non è ancora filtrato.
So the liquid is collected, and then is put inside a separator, which uses the physical concept of weight to separate the oil, which is lighter, goes and flows to the top, to the rest of the water and other matters that are heavier and go to the bottom. So the top part is separated from the bottom, so the oil exits this machine, and then after that is the olive oil itself needs to be filtered a little bit to separate it from the lightest substances that are still in it. There are tiny impurities that needs to be separated to avoid further oxidation of the oil.
Sì, infatti questo olio poi lo filtriamo
Yes.
con un'altra col cotone
Sì,
idrogeno, goccia a goccia, in modo da mantenerlo sempre pulito e non avrete mai un deposito in fondo alla bottiglia. Questo olio pulito verrà poi stoccato nelle cisterne con emissione di azoto a temperatura controllata in una stanza climatizzata.
Okay, so the olive oil is, as I said before, filtered. We use cotton to filter it, so it flows drop by drop into inside the cotton. All the solid matter remains trapped inside the cotton, and then it is stored in a controlled temperature room with nitrogen to create a shield from external air. And this is also made to avoid oxidation and to damage the final product.
Produciamo diverse tipologie di extravergini, tra cui 4 monocultivar, monovarietali, e 2 blend, un blend di oli e un blend di olive. Oggi vi faremo assaggiare un blend di oli che è il laudato che avete anche sul tavolo.
So the production is mainly constituted by 4 mono variety oils that are obtained by just a single of the 20 varieties of olives that they have. And then there are 2 blends, one which is an oil blend and one which is an olive blend. The difference is that the olive blend is made by processing different types of olives at the same time and then extracting the oil. The oil blend, instead, each of the separate individual oils are combined together in the end, and so you have this those 2 types of products. And what you will be tasting today is the oil blend kind. So this is produced; those oils are produced individually, and then they come together to form the final product. The cup like she's doing between your hands with one hand on top to help warm up the cup, because we need the oil to reach ideally a temperature of 37-38 degrees to help the oil develop the perfume in the scent of the oil.
Ecco, una volta che pensiamo che abbiamo riscaldato l'olio, togliamo la mano superiore e sentiamo i profumi, e per essere un extravergine ci deve ricordare un qualsiasi vegetale fresco che può essere fiori, frutta o verdura.
Now when you think you are ready, you can remove the top hand and immediately smell the oil, the perfume of the oil. And for it to be extra virgin olive oil, the smell that you feel should be something that reminds you of anything vegetable. So it could be grass, it could be some fruit, it could be flowers, okay, but nothing else than something fresh and vegetable.
In quest'olio all'olfatto ci sentiamo un profumo di erba, di mandorla, di pomodoro, molto tenue.
Okay, you should feel a very light smell of grass, almond, and maybe tomato on this oil, this particular oil.
E quando abbiamo sentito che non ci sono, o che comunque c'è un profumo di vegetale fresco, passiamo alla seconda fase, che è quella gustativa. Le mettiamo in bocca.
So when if you have got this sensation of a fresh vegetable scent, you can then move to the second part, which will be the actual tasting of the oil inside the mouth.
Adesso ne mettiamo in bocca pari a un cucchiaino, cerchiamo di aspirare aria tra i denti in modo da nebulizzare l'olio e sentire per via retronasale i profumi che abbiamo sentito con il naso.
Okay, aspetta. This part is a little bit tricky, so you need to put inside your mouth a tiny quantity, so like a teaspoon of oil, not very much, okay? Second step is that you need to rotate the oil inside your mouth, okay? And then you need to do a movement that she will demonstrate, which consists of breathing air through your teeth to vaporize the oil and help it reach the retronasal cavities, okay, to sense the smell via your nose, actually. But you need not to breathe air in because it can go inside your lungs. You need to think more like sipping from a straw, okay, between your teeth, so the oil will be vaporized inside your mouth. Okay, she will demonstrate how you should do it.
È un'operazione che va fatta lentamente, altrimenti vi prende la gola, poi vi fa tossire.
Yeah, as I said, you should be careful because if it goes into your mouth, the polyphenols of the olive oil that are bitter, it could make you cough a little bit. So you, she's sipping through her teeth. She's not actually breathing. Okay, she's like sipping from a straw, but through her teeth to help vaporize the oil inside your mouth.
E qui sentiamo la sensazione di amaro e di piccante, che sono dei pregi che porta l'olio.
So you should feel in your mouth two sensations, the bitterness and the spiciness. Okay? The bitterness and the spiciness are given to the oil by some substances that are antioxidants, so they are positive substances. They are the good part of the olive oil.
Una cosa importantissima che voi dovete conoscere, mi spiace, avete anche del pane sul tavolo.
There is some bread if you need to make yourself feel better.
Comunque una cosa
There is some water as well.
Una cosa importante quando assaggiate un olio, vi deve lasciare la bocca pulita e non grassa.
So one of the most important things that when you put the oil in your mouth, when you are tasting it, is that after you finish, you should not feel your mouth greasy, okay? You should leave your mouth clean. You should not have this lingering greasy sensation inside your mouth.
Che ne pensate?
Tutti più o meno possono intuire, non viaggia mai da solo, ma ha bisogno sempre di una compagnia. Questa compagnia sono tutti gli ingredienti.
So in the kitchen, olive oil, of course, as you can understand, never travels alone. At the beginning, we made you taste the olive oil by itself, but of course, when you use it in the kitchen, the olive oil always travels together with the other ingredients in the final dish.
Per lavoro, oltre a occuparmi di olio scrivendo libri, articoli ed essendo anch'io un editore, oltre che organizzatore di un festival, Olio Officina Festival.
Okay, so for his work, besides publishing and writing all those books, he's also working with the Olio Officina Festival, which is a festival to promote the culture of olive oil.
Al di là quindi degli aspetti tecnici, degli aspetti anche culturali, organizzo sempre anche degli spettacoli e la prossima edizione, la 13ª di Olio Officina Festival, che si svolgerà a Milano dal 29 febbraio al 2 di marzo, avrà degli effetti speciali che ora vi farò ascoltare.
So, as I said, besides this technical part, this technical divulgation of the olive oils, he has also the opportunities in this festival to organize shows and works of art related to the olive oil. And one of that is going to have you hear that in the following minutes.
Abbiamo applicato dei sensori ai tronchi e ai rami di olivo.
They applied some electronic sensors to the trunks and branches of the olive tree.
E le vibrazioni che sono state registrate da questi sensori sono state poi tradotte in musica.
And they captured the vibrations of those trunks and trees. And they collected this information, and this information was translated into music.
Al momento ho 2 tracce sonore.
He has 2 tracks
realizzate da una musicista che ha elaborato le note a partire da queste percezioni delle macchine che hanno
which was made by a musician that worked with this information, with those vibrations that was collected by the tree, so with the notes that came out from the vibration of the tree.
Questi impulsi elettrici sono stati poi tradotti nelle seguenti
and it was translated into the following music that you're going to hear.
Questo è un albero e poi ne ho un altro.
This is one tree. We have the outcome of the analysis that was done with another one.
Ne faccio ascoltare un altro.
So this
e
is
poi
the
ora
second.
stiamo ancora lavorando a questo progetto e nel sud della Puglia, nel sud Italia, c'è una epidemia di un batterio che si chiama Xylella fastidiosa che ha distrutto e fatto morire 21 milioni di olive.
Okay, so this is just a preview. So we are going to hear from 2 trees. The first one now, the second. And then, of course, they are still working on this project. And as you may know, in the southern of Italy now there is an epidemic of a parasite of the olive tree, which is called Xylella, which is killing a lot of those trees.
Ora però vi faccio ascoltare l'altra traccia sonora dell'olivo
Okay,
sano.
this is the second track. This is of a healthy tree, or healthy olive tree.
Durante Olio Officina Festival queste note saranno poi trasmesse direttamente attraverso una serie di strumenti, quindi una serie di musicisti che suoneranno, faranno un concerto a partire dai suoni degli olivi.
Okay, during the Olio Officina Festival, which is coming, quando l'Olio Officina?
29 febbraio, 1-2 marzo.
Next year, the 29th of February and the 1st, 2nd of March. This type of music will be performed by live musicians during the festival. So they will complete the study, and then we will showcase this work of art during the festival to the public.
Oltre poi a queste elaborazioni musicali, noi nel corso del festival portiamo avanti anche dei laboratori sensoriali.
Besides that, there will be some sensorial labs during the festival.
E attraverso questi laboratori cerchiamo anche di capire il perfetto abbinamento olio-cibo.
And in those labs, one of the tasks will be try to determine which is the best combination between different foods and different varieties of oil.
Per esempio, come organizzarci, come affrontare un olio extravergine di oliva abbinandolo a una cucina diversa da quella tradizionale. Allora, se l'olio viene prodotto in Italia è anche semplice perché c'è l'abitudine, ma cosa accade se l'olio extravergine di oliva lo utilizziamo invece con delle pietanze, con delle preparazioni inglesi?
Yeah, so for example, one of the subjects is that it's easy in a way to pair the olive oil with the corresponding traditional Italian food because they are part of the same tradition. But what they want to discover during those labs is and workshops is how they can match the olive oil with foods from traditions that are not used to that. For example, the English cuisine.
Attraverso queste prove sperimentali quindi si giunge a un risultato che può accontentare un numero di persone piuttosto cospicuo.
So from the result of those workshops, it will be possible to get a result to know how to combine oils with the foods of other cultures, and so how to make the oils good for people that are not used to them.
E la parte più difficile è trovare i giusti abbinamenti non tanto nei ristoranti quanto nelle mense scolastiche e nelle mense dei lavoratori, dove appunto c'è un grosso numero di utenti e quindi bisogna utilizzare un olio che vada bene per tutti, anche per chi naturalmente non ha questa frequentazione dell'olio.
One of the other subjects is how to pair the oil with the food, but not gourmet food like you can have in the restaurant, but for example, food that are served in schools or in factories where you have a lot of people that need to eat there. They are very different people that work there or that attend the school. So how to do some matchings that can be tasteful for everybody there.
La stessa operazione vale anche per i piatti pronti dei supermercati o di altre gastronomie che presentano quindi un prodotto già finito che si acquista per poi mangiarlo, e questo
and also ready-made dishes for supermarkets. Okay, and this is to harmonize the olive oil with several different products.
Ecco, c'è molto da fare ancora in merito agli utilizzi dell'olio extravergine di oliva. Infatti collaboro con delle catene di supermercati in Italia per fare in modo che ci sia sempre più pubblico che acquisti l'olio e soprattutto che lo acquisti in maniera differente, in base agli impieghi e in base alla tipologia, al profilo sensoriale diverso degli oli.
Okay, and so there is still a lot to discover even in Italy itself about how to use the olive oil exactly in the kitchen in those various situations. So they are cooperating with also supermarket chains to help the oil reach the wide public in a way so that they know which type of oil to choose for different purposes and different occasions, to achieve always the best type of result.
In ottobre uscirà una pubblicazione presso una catena distributiva proprio in cui si spiega al consumatore come utilizzare l'olio, il dosaggio, perché molti compiono un errore nel dosaggio, versandone troppo.
Okay, in October, there will be a publication that will be distributed in the supermarkets in Italy that its purpose in part will be also to explain how to use exactly the olive oil to the Italian customer, particularly how much olive oil needs to be used in the dish, because sometimes the error that they do is that they use too much olive oil inside the dish, actually.
E un'altra operazione molto importante che sto portando avanti è con le organizzazioni dei ristoratori e degli chef e con alcuni punti vendita, per esempio Metro Italia,
Okay.
ma Metro che poi è un'azienda internazionale.
Another of his endeavors that he's trying to do is working with the chef and also with the, big distribution that caters to chefs, to restaurants, horeca.
Attraverso delle scuole di cucina con i fornelli si spiega tutto e gli chef apprendono e quindi comunicano a loro volta in maniera indiretta anche all'utente finale che sarà il cliente del ristorante.
They have classes, especially for the chefs in Italy, in the hopes that the chefs will then pass this knowledge to the final end user, and the final end user will find the right products in the restaurant, but also in the supermarket.
Questa operazione è la via semplice e semplificata per comunicare anche agli inglesi che non conoscono il prodotto per avere un approccio più familiare con un prodotto nuovo.
This is one of the ways that can be used also with the wide English public that doesn't know olive oil, is a way to transfer this knowledge from the specialized people all the way down to the layman, to the common people that can use the olive oil every day in his diet.
E ora si prosegue con le preparazioni alimentari, con le proposte di Maurizio Bocchi.
And now we can carry on with Maurizio Bocchi's solutions in the kitchen.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Variabili infinite, per esempio ci sono oltre 1 migliaio di varietà di olive. È evidente che combinando tutti questi elementi si possono ottenere oli diversissimi tra loro.
So you need to consider that there are in total more than 1,000 different varieties of olive oil, and you can see that the possibilities of combination between them are endless, and you can obtain radically different types of olive oil by working with that.
Mentre gli altri grassi alimentari possono essere buoni o non buoni, nel caso dell'olio extravergine di oliva può essere buono o non buono, ma soprattutto differente, nel senso che possiamo ricreare un'infinità di profumi, di sensazioni gustative e anche tattili, la percezione tattile in bocca.
Okay, while the other kinds of fats can be just good or bad because they are a little bit flat in taste, this richness of the olive oil gives another component to it. So the olive oil can be of good quality, can be of bad quality, but also if it is of excellent quality, you can work to obtain a very specific good taste or a good sensation in the mouth, a good smell from the olive oil.
In Italia sono censite 538 cultivar, varietà di olivo.
Okay, just in Italy there are 580 different variety of the olive oil tree.
Noi possiamo ottenere 538 differenti oli.
38.
538.
Sorry, it was 538.
E mescolando le varie produzioni di olio, facendo dei blend come avviene con lo champagne, mescolando quindi vari elementi tra loro, si ottiene un olio personalizzato.
Okay, so you start with 538 colors and then you can blend them together like you do with the champagne to obtain a personalized olive oil. So each producer can personalize the olive oil to themselves, to their client.
Tutti i profumi, le sensazioni gustative e tattili che noi percepiamo mentre assaggiamo l'olio derivano da delle componenti presenti nell'olio, sono componenti non grasse, non costituite da grassi.
So all the perfumes, the scents, and all the sensation that you felt when you taste the olive oils actually don't come from the fatty part of the olive oil, which is the majority. They come from the rest. There are 200, 200 sostanze. 222. There are 222 different chemical substances contained in the olive oil that give you that are responsible for giving you those sensations in the mouth. So you feel them, you smell them, and you taste them.
La scoperta di questi componenti, che sono delle molecole presenti nell'olio, risale agli anni 80 ed è avvenuta per opera dell'Università di Milano.
Okay, it was the Milano University that began in the 80s to study all those components, all those chemical molecules inside the olive oil and their effect on the final product.
Quindi si è scoperto che la qualità degli oli extravergini di oliva non dipende soltanto dalla bontà della composizione grassa, simile al latte materno.
Okay, so the quality of the olive oil is not given just by the good composition of the fatty part of the product, which is actually very similar to the mother's milk. But
Il latte materno?
Sì.
Ecco, abbiamo proprio questa frazione che rappresenta l'1-2% di un olio.
Okay, there is this tiny additional fraction, which is 1 to 2% of the olive oil itself.
Che comprende una vasta famiglia di fenoli, queste sostanze antiossidanti.
That is constituted by this family of substances that are called phenols that have antioxidant properties.
L'aspetto meraviglioso è che queste sostanze, queste molecole, sono responsabili di ciò che noi avvertiamo al naso come profumo, di ciò che avvertiamo nel palato, quindi come sensazioni di morbidezza, di avvolgenza, come armonia dell'amaro e del piccante, quindi le sensazioni tattili, gustative.
Okay. So those substances are responsible. So as I said, to what we felt in the mouth. So the smell, the scent, the sensation, the smooth sensation inside the mouth, and also whatever you taste of bitterness and also spiciness.
E queste sensazioni che noi percepiamo attraverso i nostri sensi sono anche molto importanti perché sono le medesime sostanze che determinano la qualità salutistica dell'olio.
Okay, and so those substances, as I said, are important for your pleasurable sensations in the mouth, as I said, but also at the same time they have those healthy properties because they are also antioxidants, so they are important in both ways. First of all, to enjoy the olive oil, and second of all, they are important for your health.
Quindi quanto più conosciamo sapore e aroma troviamo in un olio, quanto più questi elementi sono buoni, eccellenti, tanto più va bene alla salute.
So the more that you feel those substances, so the more that you feel that the oil, as I said, is smelling of something fresh and vegetable, the more that you feel that, the more you can know that this oil is also good for your health, because the same substances that give you those sensations are those antioxidant substances that are good for your body.
Un problema che viene riscontrato dal consumatore che non conosce l'olio extravergine di oliva è il lato costo.
Okay, one of the problems that the consumer can have with the olive oil can be the cost, which can be higher than other products.
In realtà l'alto costo è giustificato dalla qualità salutistica e dalla qualità sensoriale.
Okay, really, this cost is justified if you think about the the health benefits of the olive oil. If you think about this sensation that the olive oil can give you in respect to other fatty substances that you can use in the pizza.
Con un vantaggio tuttavia che in relazione al prezzo più alto c'è un alto rendimento, nel senso che quando si versa l'olio basta versare poco, quindi il dosaggio va contenuto, un dosaggio moderato rispetto all'altro.
With the advantage that the olive oil, when it's good, when it has a strong perfume, a good smell, it can season a lot more, and so you can use a little bit less. Okay, and this is also good for the health. This helps balance out the fact that the olive oil, of course, is a little bit more expensive than other products.
Quindi un olio di alta qualità, di eccellenza, come nel caso di quello che abbiamo ora assaggiato, ha un prezzo alto, ma in compenso c'è un rendimento maggiore, perché se ne versa meno, un vantaggio salutistico, perché utilizzandone meno ne assembliamo meno grassi e peraltro assembliamo i migliori grassi possibili.
So with an excellent olive oil like the one you tasted, on one side, of course, you have a higher cost, but on the other, you have this higher seasoning properties, so you can use less, you can consume less fat in your diet, you can introduce in your body those antioxidant substances, and this all contributes to your health benefit that the oils can give you, together with this improved taste in the food.
Ovunque si piantano oggi olivi in nuovi continenti, Cina, Giappone, Pakistan e molti altri paesi che non conoscevano l'olivo oggi piantano l'olivo. Questo sta a testimoniare che c'è un'attenzione verso l'olio extravergine di oliva che è ormai diffusa al di là dell'area del Mediterraneo. Dove
Cina, Pakistan,
Giappone,
okay, so
India.
There are a lot of new countries like China, Japan, Pakistan, which historically didn't have the olive oil. They are introducing this plant into their environment, and this can show you how much worldwide the attention is shifting towards this type of product for this combination of characteristic of good seasoning properties in the kitchen and also healthy benefits.
La crescita dei consumi mondiali è dovuta proprio a una scelta di ordine salutistico.
And this is what is driving the rising consumption around the world, mainly the fact that the oil has those healthy benefits for you.
Il vantaggio è che questa scelta di ordine salutistico coincide con una scelta di ordine sensoriale di piacere, che altri grassi non hanno, perché l'olio extravergine di oliva è ricco di tante e molteplici peculiarità sensoriali.
Okay, the lucky thing is that beside this healthy part, of course, with the olive oil, you have all those sensations, those seasoning properties that you can take advantage of. Okay, now it's ready, so we are ready to begin with your lunch.
Grazie.
Thank you.
So my name's James Fildes. I'm an experimental surgeon and an immunologist, so I come to this from a very different angle. I'm going to give the start of the talk, which is all grin, and then Tim's going to give the second half of the talk, which is nicer. So the title of the talk is How to Die Slowly or Not. And start with a poll. First, another point I want to make, we don't do any animal research. So anything I show you that contains animals, it's all non-intervention stuff. There's two animals there, animal A, animal B. These are monkeys, obviously. They live in colonies where they've got outdoor space. It's kind of like a zoo. Can you give me a view? You have to get in a cage with one of them and have a fight. Are you getting in a cage with monkey A or monkey B? We'll do a poll. So if you want to fight monkey A, put your hand up. If you want to fight monkey B, put your hand up. Oh, brave. So these two animals, if you look at the monkey on the left, you can see by its face it looks tired. You can look at its body, it's lost its fur, its posture's changed. Both animals are 27. So they're grown in colonies where they're fed the exact same food and the exact same lifestyle. But the animal on the left, the only difference between them is that they're given unrestricted amount access to food. So the food that they eat is the same. So monkey A, unrestricted food. Monkey B, the colony is restricted by 30%. And the impact that this has on the lifestyle of the animals is that mortality is significantly different. So the unrestricted diet, they all die young, or younger, I should say. In terms of morbidities like diabetes, like cancer, like hypertension, they're fundamentally different between the two groups as well. So calorie restriction alone, eating healthy food, extends life. To put this into context of humans, so you can see that's monkey B on the far side. It's eating a little bit less. Monkey A is eating lots. And in the Western world, well, we eat constantly. It's a constant feast and there's never a famine. And that's why we've got the situation now that's crippling the NHS, crippling healthcare services across all of the Western world, with diabetes, with heart attacks, heart failure, liver disease, cancer, etc., etc., etc. That's why everyone's dying. So take-home message number 1. If you eat too much, it kills you. We'll move on. The monkeys that are eating unrestricted food, you may argue, are happier because they're eating lots of food. They're Henry VIII. This is a separate study. It's rhesus macaques. Same principle. These animals are given an extended lifestyle. They can do whatever they want. The only difference between the two is the animal on this side was given safflower oil supplemented to the diet. Otherwise, their food is the same. They suffered with all of the additional complications that we just talked about, but one of the things that they noticed was anxiety, stress, depression. So the wrong oil in food causes problems. Take home message number 2. Eating the wrong food has widespread negative effects. That's it for animals. I'm going to move to humans now. So this is national data from the States. Millions and millions of people over the last 80 years. The green figure is the incidence of smoking in the population. And you can see about 50% smoked at the start of the century, and it slowly dropped right down to about 14% of Americans smoke. But at the same time, obesity has skyrocketed. And with obesity skyrocketing, we get this scenario. This is chronic disease. So all of the things that I've just talked about, cardiometabolic diseases. 7.5% of Americans had a chronic disease in the 40s. Now 6 out of 10 of Americans have a chronic disease. There are many reasons for this, but something in terms of food that's changed in America is ultra-processed, right? So ultra-processed food tends to involve crap vegetable oils, and the number of calories that are consumed based on poor vegetable oils has gone up by 250 calories a day to about 600 to 700 calories a day. 30% of the calories that they should consume come from processed vegetable oils. So, the fats we eat significantly impact our health. Take home message number 3. I'll fly through some data now, trial data from studies all around the world. This is the Sydney Heart Diet Study. This was a bunch of males. They were given freedom to behave however they wanted to behave within the study, but approximately half of them were told to just eat vegetable oils, and the other half were told to eat olive oil. And the difference in terms of lifespan, what they identified is that the vegetable oil consumers had a 60% increase of death. 60% increase of death. Only heavy smoking and severe obesity had a higher risk factor for death. The group came up with this concept that one teaspoon of vegetable oil was comparable to smoking 2 cigarettes a day. 1 teaspoon. People are consuming maybe 60 mils of vegetable oils a day. This was tried to be put out as a public health message across Public Health America, and obviously it was buried. The Minnesota coronary experiment, this is corn oil and margarine versus not. So not olive oil, not good fats, but just don't eat those fats. And this is death. The red bar being more death than the green bar, so if you eat bad vegetable oils, you die. The Los Angeles Veterans Administration study, thousands of people, randomized to vegetable oils or not. This is the incidence of cancer. This is a weird study, the margarine study. I don't know why they missed the E off. both groups were told to eat just margarine. So this is bad all round, right? But the group that were given a margarine with less vegetable oil, and another group were given margarine with high vegetable oil. And the difference between the two is that the high vegetable oil group had a higher incidence of all of cardiometabolic diseases, so particularly their cardiovascular disease, stroke and heart attack. So eating more of the worst type of fat is bad. Take-home message number 4. Vegetable oil consumption increases the incidence of cardiometabolic disease, cancer, and death. I'm going to finish there because that's all the bad stuff. I'm going to switch over to Tim. Tim, if you want to get up. So Tim's a senior scientist within our company now. We were in the NHS for 25 years. We've spun out into something else. Tim has undertaken lots of nutritional work and actually is the main influence for me for the work that I do and the stuff that I'm talking about today. I hope that little snippet there gives you an eye-opener of why vegetable oil is bad and good olive oil is good.
Cheers, James. Hello, everyone. As James mentioned, my name's Tim. I've worked with James for a number of years now. I was fortunate enough to meet Maurizio and Cinzia in 2013 at an olive oil symposium in Manchester. My background is kind of holistic, the holistic components of diet, nutrition. I also worked as studied as a medical herbalist earlier on, so I'm kind of rooted in that side of things. What we wanted to do, we had a lab that was situated at the transplant centre in Manchester. So we worked with heart and lung transplant recipients, and this is the most kind of extreme disease pathway that you'll see, because essentially each of those patients has died and been given a new lease of life. And the problem after having after transplant surgery is that in many instances the incidence of disease increases. So cardiovascular disease, even if you've taken a new heart, cardiovascular disease increases, diabetes increases, and this is right across the board. So we wanted, actually with my interests, my passions, could we take this group of patients and try and reduce the incidence of further progression in the disease? And this is where the olive oil comes in, because we were interested in, it was one of the studies that was conducted in Spain, massive study, prevention of cardiovascular disease with the Mediterranean diet. Could we take the Mediterranean-inspired diet and then also look at the low-fat diet, which was the advice given at the hospital? So this again, just briefly cover the Mediterranean diet. There was different groups. There was a control diet that followed a low-fat group. There was the Mediterranean diet where they were just given nuts, and then there was a Mediterranean diet group with extra virgin olive oil. And the benefits in the olive oil group and the nuts group were considerable over the low-fat group. Yeah, which we can see there, total mortality. So there's a reduction in all-cause mortality. And so the trial that I was involved in that we set up at the transplant centre was the amended trial, assessment of the Mediterranean diet in transplantation. And not to get caught up in all these different components there, so these are different values that we looked at in blood. I suppose to take a step back, what I wanted to do is, as you'll all be aware, there's more and more information, more information available now than we've ever had. Videos, books, magazines. And to say there's more information about eating, there's more incidence of food-related disease. And I wanted to be able to take that information and could I distill that? Could I get that across to patients in a way where they got a newfound understanding of, basically a lot of it was kind of plant-based diets, talking about colours, polyphenols, the active constituents, and let them take that home in a way that it made sense. So I involved family members. This was in heart and lung transplant recipients. I got family members involved. There was a chef involved that came over from Sweden. So we did cooking classes. We got everyone there really trying to make that change. And I used a range of different, primarily plant-based foods. I didn't really need to talk about meats because I did talk about meats and fish, but they're easy to add into the diet. What I wanted was people cooking more with vegetables, freshness, thinking about colour, thinking about the active constituents. And what we saw, so we had two groups. I had 21 patients in the med diet group and 20 patients in the low fat diet group. And in the med diet group, to bring it back to olive oil, they were supplemented with, I know this is heresy, they were given a Greek olive oil, but a Greek high quality olive oil. And during the training, so they were asked to consume 40 mils of extra virgin olive oil a day, and that was to be mixed into the diet. Ideally, trying to keep that fresh, trying to keep the active constituents that you taste in the olive oil, try not to damage those. I'll come back to that in a minute. So we looked at, it was various factors. We looked at weight, the kind of metabolic profile, the BMI, all different blood markers. And as I mentioned before, with transplant recipients, the progression just increases, the trajectory after you've had surgery, in virtually in all instances, isn't it, James? It just increases with heart and lung transplant recipients. So cardiovascular disease.
As a point to make in this group, 50% of them are dead within 5 years. So they're a very high risk group for cardiometabolic disease. So Tim's task at the start of this was almost impossible, to get such a high risk group and try and convert them.
So as you can see, things like markers of diabetes, insulin, glucose, various different ratios, all these were improving. All these parameters improved with the Mediterranean group. And the same with cholesterols, triglycerides, which are markers of unused calories. So that we saw reductions across the board in all these different components. There was also a marker of longevity, so IGF-1, and that improved with this group. So really, it was, I mean, not to blow smoke, but it was an amazing outcome for a group of patients that where disease just keeps increasing. I should also say as well that the benefits in the low-fat group were considerable, but the outcomes appeared to be greater in the Mediterranean group that were consuming the 40 mils of this high-quality olive oil every day. And here we can see, I also looked at the data at the end, and I took the Mediterranean group versus the control group, with those where there was no intervention, and the parameters for those individuals took the standard trajectory and were just going downhill. So not only was it there improvements in many instances in the med diet group, even for the others, we almost put the handbrake on and slowed the degree of progression in the med diet group, primarily with, and this was all just to do with diet, no exercise. And again, a weight reduction in the Mediterranean group, which was massive because patients tend to just keep increasing in weight. So the outcomes of that were really positive as well. So take-home message for that, as James mentioned then. So this was a plant-based diet supplemented with olive oil, prevents illness in a severely diseased patient group. One of the things that inspired this was I don't know if any of you have heard of the Blue Zones. This was the work by a chap called Dan Buettner, where he looked at areas of the planet where people live the longest, healthiest lives. So it's about it's your health span versus your lifespan. And two of those key areas. So there's Loma Linda in California, there's Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, but then you've got the two Mediterranean regions. So you've got Sardinia, and you've got the island of Icaria in Greece, and then we've also got the Okinawans in Japan. And there's a theme that runs through all these, besides the fact they're all kind of embedded in nice sunny climates. But there's this relationship between food, between community, between purpose in life. It's the full package. It's not just the food. It's not just the constituent that's in olive oil or whatever it be. It's the full package. And this is what I tried to bring into the study, to try and get people thinking about food differently in their relationship to it, because food's got to taste good. So in these places, again, people all move naturally. They have purpose. Lots of rest. I mean, you can see that in France, in areas of, like, again, Italy, where there's a nice time for rest and digest after you've had a lunchtime meal. Not like usually in the UK, where we sat behind the computer and still working through your lunchtime. Laughter's being a key thing through there as well, and that connection to your friends and family and community, of which, the eating and meal times is often a real key social event. So again, it brought it back to mindfulness, which was another key component of the study, thinking about the psychology that underpinned everything. But back to extra virgin olive oil, and as Luigi was talking about, there's over 200 different components in the extra virgin olive oil, and these things are what they term secondary metabolites. These are, so the outside of the fats, these are tiny amounts of components that are inside the fruit. And this is, the reason they're in there is not to protect us, but they're there to protect the fruit. The fruit wants to produce a seed. It wants that seed to survive. And so it packs itself full of these antioxidants. And that stops the fruit going off, going rancid and spoiling. And it's the same, if you think of it in simple terms within us as humans, you often hear this term, take your vitamin C, take your antioxidants. And what they're essentially doing is stopping us rusting. We rust metabolically. So by taking extra virgin olive oil, things like vitamin C, what you're doing is it's almost like it's like wearing a bulletproof vest in a sense. If you're trickling these antioxidants into your diet on a daily basis, you're helping protect yourself, because these damaged forms of oxygen, these free radicals that cause us to rust, the benefits from some of these components in the olive oil, yeah, we're receiving benefit from those. And actually, to take it back as well, this was one of the key things I tried to talk about with the patients, was the understanding. So we went through the tasting, as was discussed earlier on, talking about the smell, what constitutes a good olive oil, getting patients to understand, because in the West, I know even my mum, she visited here, and we had a lovely meal with Maurizio and Cinzia a few weeks back. Mum got home, we were talking about olive oil. I turned up at the other week, and she said, I've just bought a bottle of olive oil, is this right? It was olive oil light. There's none of these constituents in there. They've all been destroyed. And then I have to explain to Mum what constitutes a good olive oil. And this is something that I think in the West, back to the media and the expose, that we don't really understand what constitutes a good oil. And these bitter tastes, this pungency, this bitterness. And that was what I tried to get across. And actually, talking of bitterness, this is one of the key things that I keep using the word key, sorry. That we've kind of removed ourselves from bitter tastes in the West, and this would have been something that we would have encountered much more. Now, bitters serve two purposes. They can be poisons in plants, but there's many different salad leaves and different forms of vegetables that contain, like bitter gourd, have this bitter taste. And for us as human beings, this can be really beneficial, because what it's doing is, if you take a bitter aperitif or a bitter salad leaf prior to your meal, you're actually setting things up where you're setting your appetite up, and you're getting your digestive system moving, ready for the meal that's to come. So some of the bitter components in olive oil, such as oleuropein, that has that effect of triggering that appetite stimulation. So this was something that I really tried to talk about in the study and get people thinking about the food in a different way and using all manner of different props as well as high quality olive oil. But unfortunately, it wasn't. It was Greek. It wasn't. But it's yeah. But there was still the love in the oil.
What we need to handle is the bad olive oil.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is good in any countryside. Of course.
You could see that at the start of the study with the tasting, people that hadn't encountered like a strong tasting olive oil, it could almost be a little bit overpowering. But then by explaining the properties, explaining the taste, and then as people were taking it on a daily basis, a weekly basis, you could see the palate change. You could see them start to get used to and start to appreciate the qualities of a good olive oil. And then also that understanding then of breaking down the positive effects from the oil. I think we got people on board. And sort of to wrap this up and back to the study, that we lost nobody in the study. Like the support all the way through, people were really impassioned. And again, bringing it back to those chronic disease patients, these are people that have probably lived, in many instances, have eaten a rubbish diet all their life. And we were able to, through just that kind of love, through that passion, trying to get people thinking differently, keep them on board. And that culminated then in these positive effects at the end of the study. So, yeah, I think that's really simplified from me. But touch nervy because I've not talked for a while, but yeah. Yeah, and actually back to that, sorry, yeah, just to finish there, but these are some of the components within the extra virgin olive oil that have this positive effect right the way across. Just to touch on as well with the vegetable oil, one of the problems with vegetable oil is, if you see there that omega-6 fatty acids, your omega-3 and your omega-6 fatty acids are usually in a ratio. Now, there'll only be a small component of the omega-6 fatty acids in an extra virgin olive oil. and they won't be in a damaged form. So we are now used to eating so many products that contain vegetable oil, where the oil's been damaged in all the stages all the way through. And that damaged omega-6 fatty acid is used to make the products in the body that are created for inflammation. So if you're consuming those damaged vegetable oils day in, day out, you're contributing to this background inflammation, of which then leads to some of the statistics then that James has just highlighted. So that's not something that you'd see in a balanced, monounsaturated, rich, extra virgin olive oil. So hence why it's been used for thousands of years. The Greeks and the Romans were clearly onto something. Okay, I think that wraps it for me. Thank you. Thank you.